Welcome back. It's a new microphone. I have to put it here like this. Wow. Richie, things are going to be a bit different. Anyway, if I don't get used to it, you can tell us to stop the show. All right. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. Welcome to Metropole Television. This is Business AM. It now looks almost certain that Kenya is backtracking on a new law that would have seen companies, both foreign and local, from doing business online for non-compliance. Now, Treasury Cabinet Secretary Fu C.S. Ukuri Yatani, in a newly published digital market supply regulations, indicates that Kenya has dropped its earlier proposal that firms which fail to pay value-added tax, VAT, and a 1.5% digital service tax be locked from operating in the country, and will instead see non-compliant firms and digital suppliers face fines and sanctions under the Tax Procedure Act, Kenya, which imposes a cash penalty equivalent to double the amount evaded, or a 100,000 fine for failing to comply with the electronic tax system as from January 1st, 2021. In the same light, the Treasury has also relaxed its earlier requirement that digital firms register with the Kenya Revenue Authority within 30 days, instead giving them a 6-month window to deliver their data to the taxman. Now, the new regulations will now force foreign companies to submit details for registration, including website and uniform resource locators, the national tax identification number issued to the supplier, certificate of incorporation, postal address, name of the person handling the tax affairs of the supplier, email address, and phone numbers. The digital marketplace transactions were also included in the Finance Act 2019 to widen the tax net and capture all businesses, including those without physical presence in Kenya but engaging in e-commerce in the country. All right, joining us this morning, therefore, to get a clear picture of the top issues that you're waking up to this morning, we are joined by Abraham Dhago, the CEO, Miradi Capital, and Tommy Randall, a policy expert. Let me start with you, Abraham. Is Treasury playing safe with bigger multinationals with this latest move?
I think if you look at it very carefully, there was nothing different from what the regime we have now. There were two issues here. There was the issue that if you don't comply, we'll lock you out. And number two, you are required to register.
Yes.
That's what everybody is required to do.
Yes.
The only difference with these two was that the first one, they overkilled it. They said we'll lock you out.
Yes.
Now that lock you out requirement was not applying to the rest.
Yes.
So it was going to bring a problem from the start. So what they are doing is they are curing a problem before it happened.
Yes.
That's out of the way. Number two, there was the issue of complying with the details. They had given a very short period. 1 month was too short. It was too ambitious. I think they were very much in a hurry to include that segment of business, of the people who are in the digital space. So I think all they've done is that they've now brought those rules with the same to be at par with what is existing. Okay. In terms of what, if you do it for Paul, you can do it for Peter. But I think they were overdoing it for Paul in this case. But now we have a level playing field. These guys have the same time to comply in terms of giving their details. And also, they don't have a tag of being blocked out of the market, because other people who don't pay taxes are not locked out of the business. So why did you want to do it for these people?
Yes.
So I think sometimes also when we are doing laws, sometimes emotion gets in. So I think what we have de-emotionalized this law.
Yes. So
now it will just comply with the rest. And I think now it will work.
Yes. Yeah. Abraham, just before I cross over to Tommy Randall this morning, I want to ask you though, don't you look at it from this perspective that, well, you got to play safe? Because if you're going to talk about that for locking out the bigger multinationals that have no presence in the country and have not seen the need to do that prior, then whatever it is that you're saying is that you're cutting down your collections, which you need now more than ever. And look at that period. We've taken it up to July 1st, 2021. Essentially what we're saying, right now, let's use this period as a compliance period. Are you trying to play safe for any negotiation that might come up in between?
Yes, that angle is there.
Yes.
Apart from the legality of it, that angle is there.
Yes.
Because, yes, if you overdo it, we are not the only market they're exposed to.
Yes.
So they'll go to markets that are fair.
Yes.
So as I told you, it's the issue of fairness that has had to kick in.
Yes.
Because if you're fair, multinationals will come. If you're unfair, they'll go away.
Yes.
So what they were doing was not fair, because you were saying if you don't, we'll clock you out. But the other people who are not doing it in other segments are not being locked out.
Yes.
So yes, it's not necessarily an incentive. It was just what you would call a hygiene factor. That it's present, when it's there, it's okay. But when it's absent, then it has negative effects. So for me, the multinationals, all it has done is that it has ensured they don't leave. That's all.
Yes.
And simply because we had not done it correctly the first time round.
Pretty much. All right, Tommy. It's a question that anybody's going to ask you this time round. Now, Abraham says, well, whatever this means, therefore, is that we've not been doing it correctly, but this time it looks as if we're approaching it the right way. But can this be considered as a win for the international companies without a presence in Kenya? Because we do know how much KRA has been stressing on this digital service tax.
A win for them, but it's also a starting point of negotiation for KRA while they work out details on how they will actually make it effective, because enforcing this rule is going to be a little bit difficult.
Yes. All right. Now, Tommy, just before I let you go back and then again come back to Abraham on some of the complexities that the Treasury and KRA actually just run into when you're talking about digital tax and trying to make everybody come under that umbrella. Well, just look at it from this perspective. Would you rather play safe, or you tell them, look, we're going to lock you out, because whether you like it or not, these bigger multinational companies like so Uber, they need their presence in the country as well. So why not go for it now?
No, I think it's better to play it safe, because there's a multiplier effect here. Those companies employ people who pay taxes within our country. So it is better to play it safe while you work out the details with them as to how you're going to be able to forcibly or to effectively implement this rule, because a lot of taxes from companies like multinationals require on them to self-report, and there's no 100% foolproof way for KRA to get into their books.
Pretty much. All right, now, Abraham, well, what we do know in the Finance Act of 2019 and also in 2020, we don't have that aspect of digital tax. But the thing is, it's not even operational right now, because we're really trying to sort of find the modalities around it. Is digital tax quite complex? Because that's exactly what it is that we're talking about here.
You see, the tenets of taxation, one of the tenets of taxation is that it has to be simple.
Yes.
It has to be easy to implement, and most importantly, the cost of collecting should not be substantial in relation to what is being collected.
Yes.
Now, first of all, before you count someone, you must find them. So what really are we looking at? Yes, the Ubers are easy to look for, the Glovers, those are easy to find. But what about the other people who are somewhere? Somebody is seated in his garage and he has an e-commerce platform. How do we know the sum total of what we are picking from? What is the total population of what we are going for?
Yes.
Are there a million people? Are there a million businesses? And have we tabulated them?
Yes.
Because only then can we say that this one is compliant and this one is not. But if that has not been done, and it's not easy. I'm not only saying, policing that kind of space, even not this regime, anywhere in the world, has proven to be very, very difficult.
Yes.
Because see, I'll have this URL today, I can push it to another one, and I can keep disappearing and reappearing, and my clients will follow me wherever I go. So it's a tax that really needs a lot of thought, and I think that's why they're increasing the timelines, just to try and learn. Because this is one thing they'll be learning on their feet.
Yes.
And I think as they go along, they have to, but a lot of laws may have to be changed. The mindset may have to be changed, and maybe we may want to decide that let's lower the thresholds, let's lower the rates, so that we have more self-compliance. Because to me, the easiest way to go for this thing, for people to come out of the woodwork, is for you to make it so simple and and not onerous that people decide, what, rather than keep hiding, the cost of compliance is actually lower than the cost of hiding. But now the cost of hiding is lower than the cost of compliance.
The cost of compliance. Isn't it, gentlemen? I would just beg so that we move on to the next question. And this one, I don't know what you're going to say about it. Now, the Senate last Wednesday laid down on plans by the Postal Corporation of Kenya, PCKI, to revive itself after years of losses for the corporation. Now, members of the committee indicated that the corporation's presentation was just a formality and predicted its folding up if it continues in the same direction. ICT Cabinet Secretary John Shebu and Postmaster General Dan Kawe informed the committee among key issues in consideration was laying off staff, seeking government bailout to pay the close to 6 billion debt PCK owes, and seeking to tap on e-commerce opportunities as its way back to profitability. Now, the pair had been called by the Committee on ICT to appraise it on general affairs of the corporation and indicating whether it can meet its future financial obligations relating to staff salaries and other labor obligations. Now, let's just take a look at exactly what is happening in the postal services in the country before I ask you, Tommy Rendo, on exactly what we should do next. I mean, if you look at it exactly where we are in terms of that service, you could actually see that all the way from 2017 up to where we're right now, the demand is higher. You can't deny that. We are requiring those logistic services more and more in the country. But at the same time, if you look at Posta, it is pretty much dead. Now, Tommy, revive Posta or just say goodbye?
Posta has a lot of nostalgia for me because of when I was in high school. You know, when you write a letter, your pen pal writes it back. But these guys have not adapted to time, especially when you go into the offices and see how they run business. It's like you're bothering them just to get a little service. So, and then also, if you're in a professional office, you're never going to use them. You'll just use them to receive your mail. You go to the post office box and you get it. But if you're going to sending something to another office, you're probably going to use a messenger. So there's a lot of opportunities that Posta have let slip by. So what they really need to do is do a proper audit, and they need to don't give them a bailout until they come down to the point where they can actually do something. Get some motivated staff, get some people who are going to do new ideas. So that it's not like when I walk up to their desk, I'm bothering them.
Yes, Tommy, I'm going to come back to you because, yes, you're saying, well, they have to go back and look at the internal structure and then say, can they still be in business? But is it just a little bit too late? That's going to be your question next. But I want to go back to Abraham. Abraham, I mean, should we revive Posta? The government is struggling with a lot of government agencies that are not performing. So why hold on to Posta?
You see, let's go back.
Yes.
As Randall is saying, even me, I have a lot of nostalgia for
me too,
Posta.
Man. Yes.
Because Posta, you know, at one time, Posta was bigger than Amazon. That's a fact. And when Amazon was going in the direction they went, Posta was still alive. And they were watching. And this is a good example of what happens to you when you don't change. If you don't change, change changes you. And you can see what change is doing to them.
Yes.
The present business model is outdated. Putting more money is a total waste of time. If they're going to change their business model, shut them down and cut our losses and you do something else. Because the question you want to ask yourself, if today there was no Posta, would life go on? The answer is yes. That is the brutal honesty.
Of course, it will go on.
Yes. So then why are we putting money in something that where life can go on without it? So unless they want to change their business model, I don't want that is up to them what they'll come up with.
Yes.
But what I do know is that what they're doing now will not work and is not working and will never work going forward.
Yes.
Because the demand for writing a letter, putting a stamp on it, and going to a mail, and then again somebody else also going to another office. People now want things brought to them. That's where we are. People want end-to-end solutions. I finish my letter, I give it to someone who takes it to the other person's hand.
Yes.
Or I scan it and email it. That's where we are. So if they don't move their business model to fit that reality and stick to a model where we have to go for registered mail, then you're living in the past.
Yes.
It would be the equivalent of us insisting on, if Kodak was a parastatal, insisting on continuing to fund the film, and the digital has already taken over.
Yes.
Would have been wasted a lot of money up to now, and that was not going to revive. You see, so I don't think that model is going to work anymore. And that is the harsh reality. And that's why you see Posta is jumping into everything. They're trying this, they're trying that, and they're actually moving away from their core mandate, but you see, there's a lot of opportunities. Like if you look at these channels, for example, if you look at the channels for like the SGR, like the rail line, like whatever transport logistics we have in this country, they lack a last mile solution. That's a space they can easily occupy.
Yes.
So they have to sit and tax their mind, but move away from letters, for sure. They have to move from being a postal company to a logistical company.
Pretty much, isn't it? And I'm going to ask you exactly, but you see, you've actually mentioned now on exactly the opportunities that exist in the country. But the question for you, Abraham, is going to be, is it not too late? Because there are already players who've already established themselves inside there, which is exactly what Posta is going to try and take off market. Now, Tommy, I'm going to ask you though, yes, they're asking for government bailout to the tune of 6 billion shillings, but they already are on another bailout that is close to 868 million shillings. That, wait for it, it is just for the payment of salaries for the employees as backers march. What does that tell you? Is it not a dead company already if you cannot even afford salaries for your employees?
Yeah, I think they died a long time ago, even way beyond this. And like I said, Simba, I'm serious. I like Costa and I like the nostalgia we have together.
Yes.
But when I walk into into those offices, it's like I'm bothering people.
Yes.
Now you want me and my national government to pay you salaries because you're not performing. No, I don't think they should get any money. Let them start redundancies and come down to the part that they can afford and to be able to offer the services until they can re-innovate to where they can be a competitive company.
Pretty much. All right, Abraham, let's come locally, therefore, and talk about where the opportunities exist. Is it not just all gloom and doom now if you really are going into logistics in an area where people have already moved away from you a long time ago? Yeah, they're surviving without you.
You see, the beauty of logistics, you see logistics,
yes.
you're offering an end-to-end solution.
Yes.
The one advantage they have a lot of infrastructure in place. Massive. You know, they have literally an office in every township in this country.
Yes.
So with that on the ground, and in terms of offering solutions, especially last mile,
yes,
they will be perfect.
Yes.
But they have to think about whether they have to carry all the stuff they have, whether they have to do business the way they are doing, whether the culture Randall is talking about is going to exist anymore for them to do business.
Yes.
The other advantage they have, they're a government institution. There is this law of Public Procurement and Disposal Act.
Yes.
When you're government to government, you bypass that law. So it would be they would be able to beat everybody else because they would be able to get direct business from government without having to go through the procurement process. Yes. And if they do it well, then why should government pay somebody else when they can pay themselves? So the opportunity is there, but not in their current form, for sure.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Let's move on to the last issue that we have for you this morning. Now, the data now has shown that Kenyans cumulatively transacted slightly over 3 trillion shillings during the first 8 months of the year. Interestingly, in comparative terms, that amount could fund the government's entire 2.7 trillion shillings budget for 2020-2021 with some change remaining. Wow. Now, this denotes a 6.9% increase in mobile transactions compared to 2.87 trillion shillings transacted during a similar period last year. Now, the increase is partly attributable to the promotion of mobile money as a safe alternative to using cash in bid to curb the spread of COVID-19. Now, mobile money transaction peaked at 473.5 billion shillings in August alone. Good. Now, CBK introduced measures that have seen the mobile money market increase and transactions charges for amounts below 1,000 expunged. Now, Abraham, the question for you is this. I mean, going by that, and I want us to look at the graph that we have for you on your screen this morning so we can actually see where the spike is coming from. Richie, if you can give us that data now so we could actually analyze it. All right, Richie, as you're preparing. All right, now the question is, Abraham, should this be made permanent?
I don't think we should make that kind of a policy decision.
Yes.
I think we should leave it to Safaricom to decide. Once we are done with the pandemic, I think we should leave them.
Yes.
The worst thing you want to do in a free market economy is to start imposing those kind of decisions because they have a business model that works for them.
Yes.
But for now, yes, it's time for everybody to cut some slack, and for them, that's the slack they're cutting us.
Yes.
But if you look at broadly about the numbers you've given, it tells you that whether we like it or not, Kenya does run on M-Pesa.
Yes.
And it's a harsh reality. A harsh reality in that it's a very good thing, but it could also be a bad thing.
Yes.
A bad thing in the sense that you've seen what happens when M-Pesa goes down. We all grind to a halt. So certain issues have to start being addressed in terms of, do we want to stay that way?
Yes.
Do we want to have one player controlling all of us? One player where we all are at their mercy. No, not in a bad way, but it's a reality.
Yes.
They control 99% of the mobile money market.
Yes.
1% is everybody else put together. So it means that they dominate. Okay, I know nobody wants to use that word when Safaricom on the same line.
Yes.
But they are 99% has no other meaning other than domination.
Yes.
But yes, Safaricom, it's an excellent product. It has served Kenyans very well, but we need to think about making sure that it is so well guarded that even as a national asset, that nothing can go wrong with it.
Pretty much.
Because if it does, then it actually can give systemic shocks to our economy.
Yes. I want us to look at the data that we have for you as well, Abraham, when it comes to the trend of mobile money transactions in the country right now. You can actually see that all the way from Jan, you have that constant rise in terms of the way that Kenyans started using that mobile money transactions. And that partly will be because, yes, we increased the mobile money wallet to 300,000 bob, and now transactions below 1,000 shillings were actually deemed to be free. We're going to come back to that on exactly what that graph tells us this morning. But Tommy, yes, should we make it permanent, some of these measures that we put in place just to make sure that the economy rides on the mobile money wallet?
Simba, unlike China, Kenya is a market economy. We're not a command economy. So I don't think it should be a permanent feature. If Safaricom wants to be competitive, I don't know who they're competing with, and decide to make it free, that is totally up to them.
Yes.
But they also have shareholders who they are accountable to.
Yes.
So when the pandemic is over, maybe they can stop with the free transactions.
Yes.
But until then, I think everything is fine for now.
Tommy, I want to ask you a question though, just before I let you go on that as well. I mean, well, if majority of the economy is there, then, and we've seen the increase all the way from May up to where we're right now, then why take it off? I mean, why not leave it there if Kenyans do enjoy whatever it is that we're seeing there? So despite these telcos crying that we're making losses, but aren't they turning in volumes?
M-Pesa service is an essential human need. It's come to the close to a basic human need now, because
Yes.
that is the way you will save your people who are away from you. You will send them money to get their sustenance and whatnot. But like I said earlier, at the end of the day, Safaricom is a private corporation that has shareholders who they need to answer to.
Yes.
Right now, it is easy for us to justify these free transactions because of the pandemic. But when the pandemic goes, they need to earn their money as well. I'm a Safaricom shareholder too. I want my money.
All right, Tommy, speak for that as well. Good, but Abraham, yes, I mean, if majority of Kenyans therefore have moved there, I mean, 3 trillion shillings, that's a lot of money. Yeah, it's beyond our budget for 2020, 2021. Isn't it speaking to something that, yes, they enjoy whatever it is going on there right now, because the volumes are there, so why not make it permanent?
Let's spin this discussion.
Yes.
Due to the pandemic, we said, let's not handle cash.
Pretty much.
That came from central bank. So we moved away from liquid cash. So we're told transact on mobile money.
Yes.
Safaricom, M-Pesa controls 99%. So what we told people, go to M-Pesa, long and short. So people are on M-Pesa, like it or don't like it, because that's where we are. And 99% of us are there. So when the cash option was removed, we are stuck with M-Pesa. Now, are we transacting the numbers we are transacting in M-Pesa because the 1,000 has no fee? I don't think so. That is not. Convenience overrides price.
Yes.
And cost.
Yes.
It has as Randall has put it very well, it has become almost a basic need in Kenya. Even me when I was coming to buy my coffee, the first thing I asked them, do you have a Lipa and M-Pesa? Because actually in my pocket, I don't even have a shilling.
Yes.
I can do a month just doing Lipa and M-Pesa. So that's how we predicate to ourselves. As to whether it's a cheap or expensive service is not a discussion for today.
Yes.
It's a discussion for another day. But it is convenient. That one we all agree. And again, all of us are there. just 1% of us are not there. So with that policy decision, for CBK putting us there, they had to take the tab. And the only way they took the tab is they just became CBK. They just ordered them, don't charge these people. Because the ideal situation would have been, you don't bill them, bill us. That is the middle ground. If you want to sustain this thing, then say, okay, fine, the government will be paying for everybody. So every end of month, Safaricom does their returns. So your people spent 2 billion, which they did not pay.
Please give us the money.
Yes, give us the money. But now the way it is, CBK has those kind of powers.
Yes.
Don't charge, and we don't charge. But yes, I agree with Randall, and I said it earlier myself. We cannot push them to sustain it. For us to sustain it, then we must sustain them.
Yes.
Because business is just the way it is. There's a model they're doing. They have shareholders, and they have private and they have public owners.
Yes. But Abraham, I'm just going to put the same question that I put to you as well. Sorry, to Tommy this morning as well. Can we look at volume now and say, well, if you got volume, then you also have more in terms of your transactions, which pretty much means you can cancel out the deficit you're talking about right now.
Whereas that may be true, it is still their decision to make.
Yes.
And it is part of their cost-benefit analysis when they are now deciding after CBK calls the dogs off. They'll now sit as a board, management then to their board and say, okay, fine. Now we are like what banks were told. We were told from today, we have repealed the interest rate cap law. But they still stayed where they were.
Yes.
Because they decided, you know what, let's just, this may work for us. The same thing, they'll decide, CBK has called off the dogs, but now, maybe this is working. So let's do a volume analysis.
Yes.
Were people coming there because there was no discharge? What was driving? And Safaricom has all this data. So they'll be able to decide, or maybe say, okay, fine, we'll halve the costs, or we'll go by a quarter, whatever they decide. But I think it will be very dangerous and a very bad precedent for government to after post-COVID, to interfere with the pricing mechanism of any, not just Safaricom, of any company.
Pretty much. Yeah. All right, Tommy, just 1 minute, if you may, this morning. I mean, when we're talking about mobile money transactions, which we were actually saying, so should we let the banks cry as opposed to the Safaricoms and any other telco that we have in the country now?
It applies to the banks as well, because you can move 1,000 bob from your bank account to M-Pesa without any current fees.
Yes.
Anything beyond that, then I mean, so they're both suffering for amounts over 1,000 shillings.
Yes.
Us as the consumers are the ones who are enjoying this. So let them feel the pinch for now until the pandemic is over. So at least they know at some point there's an end date. It's not a permanent situation.
Pretty much, gentlemen. Thank you very much for taking your time this morning. Tommy, joining us right there from your office. Thank you very much. Abraham Dago, the CEO of Miradi Capital. Thank you very much. You do know what to do. 2146. That is your SMS line at Metropole TVKE across on your social media platforms. We take a short break, but once we come back, Stephanie Waswa with exactly what the weekend has been, business-wise, social media-wise.